A whole civilization will die tonight. I know a lot of people are saying that he maybe has dementia. Listen, I wouldn't want to insult people with dementia by saying that he has dementia. That's pretty far away from dementia. And I can say that because I have dealt with that in my family. And never have I ever heard anyone that I know with dementia threaten to kill an entire populace. Let's just call a thing a thing. This is evil. This is evil. And this is the evil that has the nuclear codes in this moment. Welcome to the first episode of Fearless Politics, and it could not be a more critical day for having this debut because today we are on the precipice of a very disturbed man's whims on the very day in which he has publicly threatened genocide. Let's just call a thing a thing. When you have someone say a whole civilization will die tonight, how else can you interpret that but than a call for genocide? I know that this is taco that we're talking about. I know that this is Trump always chickens out bluster, perhaps. But who does that? What sort of moral depravity must you have in order to have those words come out of your mouth via your fingertips in your whack social media vehicle? A whole civilization will die tonight. I know a lot of people are saying that he maybe has dementia. Listen, I wouldn't want to insult people with dementia by saying that he has dementia. That's pretty far away from dementia. And I can say that because I have dealt with that in my family. And never have I ever heard anyone that I know with dementia threaten to kill an entire populace. Let's just call a thing a thing. This is evil. This is evil. And this is the evil that has the nuclear codes in this moment. And so here we are. This is being recorded a little over an hour away from when he claims he's going to begin this onslaught that would lead in the words that he used the other day, bombing them back to the Stone Age, bombing all of their bridges, bombing all of their electrical facilities, in which he upped the ante by saying a whole civilization will die. So the clock is ticking because he hasn't tacoed yet. He may still taco. This is who we talking about. But my question is, where are the adults in the room? Where are the adults in the room? Because this man needs to be removed from office toot sweet immediately today. If we had anyone in that administration that had the balls to do it. Now, I will say that as the moment in which I am coming to you today, we have had thus far 50 members of Congress to say that the 25th Amendment should be invoked, because one could argue that his mental health has deteriorated to such a degree that he can no longer serve in this capacity. So if that's what we got to say, that's what we got to say. And I don't think it's a stretch to say that he has mental health issues at all. I mean, golly, that's been kind of obvious to someone that just kind of looks at how he acts. But then again, I don't even know that it's mental health issues. Who's to say that he wasn't just always this psychopathic narcissist his whole entire damn life? Who's to say he's not just evil incarnate and this is just who he is? When people show you who they are, believe them the first time. And so here we are, the second time of a Trump administration dealing with this insanity, dealing with this depravity, dealing with this evil that has already killed and already committed what could be described as war crimes even before this started. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. Let me just say, welcome to those of you who have already tuned in, who are here with me tonight. I do want to talk a little bit more about what we know about what's going on right now. Listen, when this first came down, when this threat first came down, I was livid. And then I was like, maybe by 5 o'clock, he would have pulled back per se, and we're still here. So we're waiting to see what's going to happen. But here's what I will say. I'm glad to see that we have had 50 members of Congress stand up to him. So far, not one Republican, mind you, the lapdogs, the cowards who are going to sit there and allow him to do anything, apparently, that he wants to do, including wage this war that they didn't even want to use their power as Congress people to actually approve it. So Leah in the chat has said, remove the whole regime. I'm right there with you, sis. If anybody needs regime change, it's America right about now. Shoot, we need to be invaded so we can have a regime change. You know what's really interesting to me? On the first day of this invasion, I have a conservative, he's not a friend, acquaintance of mine. We've been on political talk shows together before, me on the left, him on the right. And he was I was kind of blasting about it. And he was saying, oh no, this is to free women in Iran and for LGBTQ people and, to free them from this oppressive regime. I'm like, well, what the hell? Are you kidding me? Last I looked, women in this country, LGBTQ people in this country, among others, are being oppressed by this regime. How about you fix that first? And we all know it's a lie. We all know it's a lie. The only one who had a moment of truth around this whole issue was little Marco, right? When he came out and said, well, Israel said they were going to go in, and so we had to go in before they went in, because if they went in and we don't go in, then we might be brought in. And, he went through that. And then the very next day he got pulled, apparently yanked by his big clown shoes that he keep wearing everywhere. Too much of a punk to tell the president that he can't fit the damn shoes the man bought him. But here's the thing. The very next day, he reneged on that. He said, oh, no, that's not what it was. We have been bouncing around from one issue to the next issue to the next issue. This man has yet to provide us even a sufficient and logical and coherent thought around why we're there in the first freaking place. And I would argue that the reason why he hasn't provided that is because the truth of the matter is we're not there for American interests. We aren't. The truth of the matter is Netanyahu has been trying to get multiple U.S. presidents to do this. And lucky him, he finally found one stupid enough to do it. So here we are in this mess. And the whole reason why Trump has gotten to this extreme of threatening genocide, because I don't see how else you can interpret this statement but to say that that is a threat of genocide. That's beyond threatening, oh, I just want to blow up your bridges, even though that's a war crime, or I just want to blow up all of your electrical facilities, even though that's a war crime too. We are well beyond that when you say a whole civilization will die tonight. That's pretty freaking far away, even from where he was 24 hours ago. So, you know why we're here? We're here because this is like a man baby. He is like a man baby. He cannot think. You know how babies have blindness? Like if you are playing a game with, the reason why babies are so enamored with peekaboo, like the game peekaboo, the reason why they are so enamored with peekaboo, because babies' brains have not developed to the point where they understand that when they don't see something, it actually is still there. So that when you play peekaboo with a baby, they are so excited because it really feels like you literally disappeared and reappeared. Like their mind does not understand yet that you didn't go anywhere. This man baby apparently does not have the sentient abilities, okay, to be able to determine what's beyond what he can immediately see. He is incapable of thinking 2 to 3 moves ahead of what he does. And he is famously someone who just goes along with the last person who he talked to. A news report just came out today that right before he decided to go in, he met with Netanyahu and a Mossad agent. Big shocker that we're here. And so because he listens to the last person that actually has his ear, we're in there. Because he is incapable of thinking 2 to 3 moves ahead of where we are now, of where, of where the argument is right now, or what argument is being made to him. He has a lack of ability to actually think critically. He can only think in very simplistic ways. Okay. He can't think what is going to be the ultimate outcome of his actions. He's either like a man baby or like a teenager whose part of the brain that hasn't developed yet that actually lets them know what will be able to predict in the future the full implications of their actions. Like, so in other words, he's not thinking like a full-grown adult who should be able to think about the implications of actions. And in addition to that, he is stubborn and he's arrogant. So he doesn't want to listen to other people who knows more than he knows. He just assumes he's right all the time, yet he doesn't have the mental capacity to even assess situations fully, such that he can determine what the implications are and how that might be good or bad. This is how you run right into a situation like this, and apparently ignore the fact that the Strait of Hormuz would be the first thing that would be shut. So that gets me back around to why we are here tonight. We are here tonight because he's embarrassed. He is embarrassed on an international scale because he can't figure out what to do to get the straits open. He sees what's happening with the gas prices. He sees, even more importantly, to his future and the future of his party in terms of the midterms elections, he sees what the polls are looking like now, where the American public is overwhelmingly against this war. He sees what's happening and he is desperate to get a deal. And you know what? The Iranians are not. The Iranians are not. They are not. He's desperate. They are not. Here's what I will tell you: in any negotiation, the person who needs it the least has the greatest negotiating power. And we are in a situation right now where the Iranians are like, I have taken 5 weeks of your bombing. You have thrown everything that you can at us. You have already committed what could be interpreted as war crimes. On the very first day, you killed not only our political and religious leader and basically his whole family, except for his son, who is now the surviving leader, who had lost in that process his wife, his father, his mother, his daughter, it's my understanding. So he basically lost his whole family in that strike. Plus, on the very same day, you kill 170 little children and teachers in a school. And now you are wondering why we are like, it's on. It's on. From their perspective, it's beyond. Oh, I haven't even finished setting up the scenario. And to have all of that pop off while I'm in negotiations with you, while we are in negotiations. So why would I trust that if I sit across the table with some of your representatives in the future, that you wouldn't do it again? And by the way, in the interim, they've already killed their main negotiator, and then the next person that they were negotiating with, they have severely injured. So who the hell are they even going to be negotiating with next? It is crazy what's happening right now. It is crazy. And the fact that the 25th Amendment has not been invoked, when you have a madman, clearly a madman, who has the nuclear codes, who clearly has already shown you that he does not demonstrate the mental capacity or desire to think 2 or 3 moves ahead of his actions, who have shown himself someone to be the type of personality that has zero empathy, that doesn't care about who he hurts or who gets killed as a result of the actions that he takes or okays. Do you mean to tell me then that it is not unreasonable to assume that everything is on the table? I think it is. So it's interesting to me, as I mentioned, 0 Republicans in office have come out to say anything about this, who have called for the 25th, but several right-wing conservatives who are not currently elected to office have. So you've had people like Marjorie Taylor Greene saying the 25th, get them the hell out of there. You have Candace Owens, who said the 25th Amendment needs to be invoked. He is a genocidal lunatic. 1,000% true. You've even had people like Alex Jones with his crazy wackos behind. He said specifically, how do we 25th Amendment his ass? That is a direct quote from Alex Jones, of all people. Of all people. I mean, he's about the whack in the realm of the most wacko of the wackos of the MAGA wackos. And even he is saying, how do we 25th Amendment his ass? Now, you know, and they aren't the only ones. Those are just a few that I'm going to mention to you, but you have a lot of people. These are people that each and every one of them have millions of followers. So it's not like they're just out here crying in the void, okay? They have lots of followers. And they're not going to get out too far ahead of their followers. And even if they do, I would argue they likely have a great deal of influence. So they're the ones that we're hearing. Just imagine the people that don't have platforms that are thinking this, even in his own party, even among his own base. And you still have no Republicans who have the balls, and not even the balls. I mean, that's part of it. They don't have the balls. But I would also say, how about someone that has the ambition and the courage and the strategic thinking to get out in front of the slaughter that is definitely coming via the midterms? So far, you have had 30 flipped seats in just the elections that have happened since the last presidential election, and all of them have flipped from Republican to Democrat. So the Democrats have all the momentum going into the midterms. Take with that the fact that Trump now has abysmal approval ratings, and the approval ratings for this war is just as abysmal almost. So anyone who was thinking like really, really ambitiously. Like who can you think of that's extremely ambitious, that doesn't mind like completely doing a 180 and saying something completely opposite than what they said before for their own political gain? Can you guys think of anybody like that? Who like that comes to mind? JD Vance. JD Vance comes to mind. How did he get here in the first place? If you go back to one of the, I don't even know which number name we're on right now, because JD Vance's Uno reversed his name many, many times. I know he's changed his name so many times, but one iteration of JD Vance, and he may have been calling himself JD Vance by then, I'm not sure. But previously, JD Vance was the one that compared this man to Hitler. He literally compared Trump to Hitler. He was anti-Trump before he was pro-Trump. And he became pro-Trump in the ambition to get to where he is today. Now, if he was smart, he has the perfect position to start the process of invoking the 25th. He would be hailed a hero, someone that saved the country from this lunatic. He could then distance himself from this administration, because I have to tell you, if he has political ambitions, he might as well kiss those goodbye after this train wreck of an administration. He might as well kiss those goodbye. You think Kamala had a hard time running with Biden's baggage? Imagine Trump baggage. Trump baggage makes Biden baggage look like a carry-on. If he was smart, he would get ahead. He would get ahead of the certain destruction that anyone connected with Trump will face when they run for president. And I know the challenge that he's going to have is that you have to get through the primary to get to the general. But even among Republicans, there is a difference between MAGA Republicans and Republicans. Now, the challenge is that a lot of Republicans have actually left the Republican Party and are now independents. Okay. So if you are Republican now, it's a little bit different Republican because the sample is smaller and more concentrated among those true believers, those MAGAs. But even those MAGA people are feeling the pain. There was a report today about a Trump store, like it's a complete store that only sells Trump paraphernalia, that has gone out of business. It's going out of business right now. And they specifically say the reason why they're going out of business is because their sales have tanked as a result of the decision to go to this war. So even the MAGA faithful, even the MAGAs who have created a whole business around being MAGA, is saying this MAGA thing ain't working out too good. I will tell you, I think honestly, that's really the thought that Marjorie Taylor Greene had when she left Congress. Like, I really believe that she left Congress thinking, I'm going to position myself as the real America First candidate and contrast with Trump. But she knew she couldn't do it in Congress. However, now she's outside of Congress. She's still very visible. She's still on the talk circuit. She is still chiming in on current issues. Do not sleep on the fact yet that she's trying to create a lane for herself to run for president in 2028. And she's going to run for president. I would argue, I would be shocked if this didn't happen, but I'm very good at predicting these things. She's going to position herself as the real MAGA candidate because this guy got in office. He said he was America first. And what has he done in there? Not a damn thing for America. In fact, he's made things much worse. And he's been enamored with going all around the world, trying to start little either full-fledged wars like what we're experiencing now, even though the Republicans in Congress are too much of wusses to actually hold any sort of vote on whether or not to give him war powers. Instead, they just decided this will continue to let him run amok. Okay. But this is war. This is different than what happened in Venezuela. It's definitely different than what happened to those poor people in the Caribbean who were just bombed on fishing boats. This is a whole different level of ish that we are caught up in. And while we're spending billions for this, you mean to tell me that these are the very same people that are saying that we don't have the money to extend the funding so that the American Care Act can cover people? So because they haven't approved the additional funding that's needed to make sure that people can afford to keep their health insurance, it's already been projected that 4 million people now are without it. How is that America first? This is the same man who said, oh, well, we can't afford to provide child care. We can't afford to provide Medicaid and Medicare. We can't do that in the federal government. Huh? But we can afford to spend $1.5 trillion on a war that we still don't know why we're there, or that at least you won't admit while we're there, that absolutely has nothing to do with us, that someone that is a MAGA loyalist actually resigned his position, specifically saying that Iran had no capabilities of threatening us. So there's no real reason why we're there to protect America in the first place. This is who we have. And so even though you have all of these people who voted for Trump, who convinced millions of other people to vote for Trump, who are now saying, oh my God, my bad, invoke the 25th, we find ourselves in a situation where we are just railing towards disaster. Because it's just like every week, every month, it's a different disaster. Everything possible he can do to distract from the Epstein files, he will do, even if that includes killing people. I guarantee you. Absolutely. So here we are. Absolutely. So Daryl, this is a good point. He says, yet Doge is still firing Fed employees while spending $1 billion a day on a war. You done said it now. People are still being fired. In fact, it just came out that they want to get rid of and fire everybody in TSA and privatize it, which I'm not surprised to see that, because that was actually in Project 2025. So they want to fire all the TSA workers. They want to fire other federal workers. They've already fired people, just completely ruining people's lives financially throughout this administration. And now this, but there is no limit to how much money we can spend on wars. There's no limit to how much money we can waste and all of his ridiculous ass projects, tackifying the White House and the entirety of Washington, D.C. It is disgusting. I was just downtown D.C. earlier today, driving by the Justice Department to see his freaking scowl of a face on it. Disgusting. I cannot wait. Let me just say, the minute he leaves office, and I know he said they'll never have to vote for us again. Listen, he leaving there somehow. He leaving there one way or the other. Okay? Trust and believe. That ain't happening. That ain't happening. And when he does leave, I cannot wait. I will be one of those downtown on Pennsylvania Avenue, just having a party around the bonfire we will make of all of those flags that have his ugly face up on them, all of the banners that he has on those buildings all throughout Washington, D.C. I can just imagine a huge bonfire celebration, kind of like what you used to have when you were in high school and you were having a pep rally. Yeah, that sort of feeling. That's exactly what's going to happen when he finally leaves. One way or the other, he's leaving. He's not going to be there forever, even though he may think he is, but he's not. Absolutely not. Now, while we're talking about, his ridiculousness, there's always a pick me. There's always a pick me. Oh, thank you. Looks like we just got an update just now live while we're on per MSNBC, also known as MS Now, at 7:08 p.m. Trump agrees to suspend Iran bombing for 2 weeks. Well, here we go. Taco done come through again. The taco be tacoing. Okay. Now let me ask y'all a question. Just think about your life, like your personal life or in business dealings. If you know of someone who keeps saying they're going to do things and then they chicken out, or they don't follow through, or they make excuses, or they keep extending the deadline, do you respect them? Do you respect them? Do you get to a place where you're thinking, oh my goodness, this is someone that I need to really do what they say because they're really going to imagine if that's how you parented your children? Well, if you don't do your homework, then I'm going to take your video games away. And then they don't do homework. And then you say, well, you know what? I'll take your video games away in 5 days. Or I'll take it away in 48 hours. 48 hours get here. I'll take it away in 10 days. 10 days gets here. I'll take it away in 2 days. 2 days get here. I'll take it away in 7 weeks. I'll take it away. Then your child going to be running amok. Don't nobody respect that. And hence is why this war could run on for years. And I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that, because this is someone who does not even understand what he has gotten us ensnarled in, number one. And we are against a foe, if you want to call it that, just in terms of how we're positioning this from his perspective. He's against a foe who is a hell of a lot smarter than he is. Let's just start there. Let's just call a thing a thing. Okay. He is dumb as a doornail. And the Iranians, it's a very highly educated society. They don't have to bluff and obfuscate and make big, grandiose threats. They say what they say and they stick by it. You know what's really funny is he went off the rails like this because of his frustrations around the straits. And he wants to get the straits open. And we need to do that. Guess what? The straits was open before you brought your ass in there in the first place, wasn't it? And now here we are having to deal with this. But I do want to say the pick-me's, because the pick-me's will be here under any situation. Megyn Kelly, which should be called Megyn Karen because she's like a Karen. But Megyn Kelly earlier today said she would continue to support Donald Trump and the Republican Party even if he dropped a nuclear bomb. Ooh, pick me. That is pick me behavior. Even if he dropped a nuclear bomb, she would continue to support the Republican Party. Here's what she needs to understand, okay? Baby girl, he don't like you. He don't like you like that. And I'm going to be very specific. Thinking about that statement, I want you all to understand that the face of white supremacy is not always a white man or exclusively a white man. It also includes white women. It also includes other people of color, even Black people when it's convenient for them or when they think they can leverage it for their own good. Okay. But I really think it's important that we realize that this is the type of behavior and the type of mentality that we see in the historical records of families having picnics. And if you know the history of that word, picnics, while viewing Black men, women, and children being lynched. They found that to be entertaining. This is the same type of mentality just in the modern day context. And what Megyn Kelly needs to learn, and I don't see why she didn't learn that when he ran for office the first time, when he really dragged her ass, but she's trying to be picked, I guess. So what she needs to learn is that they don't really like you like that. They don't really like you like that. You might feel like you have some advantage because you're white, but I want you to understand they don't really like women like that. Even you, even women like you, even women that will do their bidding. Ask Pam Bondi. Ask Pam Bondi about that. Did that work out? Did that work out for her? I don't really think that worked out for her too good. What do you think? I don't think it worked out for her too good. Who else? Ask my girl, Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem, did it work out for you? Here's the thing. The irony is that these white women, like Megyn Kelly, like Kristi Noem, like Pam Bondi, who think that their proximity to whiteness will buy them acceptance by their white nationalist gods that they worship. They are operating under an illusion. Because just like Kristi Noem found out, just like Pam Bondi found out, when they are through with you, they will throw you away and you will be on your own. And I want to lean into that a little bit because what's really ironic to me, trust and believe, I don't feel sorry for them. They signed up for it. So, okay. All right. You signed up for it. Now you got humiliated. Pam Bondi, the very day that she, the very day she got fired, her picture, because I don't know if you guys have ever been in a department in Washington, D.C., but wherever those departments are, it could be Department of Justice like hers, Health and Human Services, Education, all of them. The department head, the person that's in the secretary of that specific department, there's a big official portrait that's put up in the lobby when you first get there. Within hours, probably minutes of when her ass got kicked the hell out, her portrait was in a trash can. Somebody threw it in the trash can and took a picture of it and circulated it on TMZ. I was like, Lord have mercy. How humiliating. They didn't even wait for 24 hours. Not only did your ass get embarrassed, like unceremoniously fired, but the people who you had worked with hated you so much that they took your portrait and threw it right in the trash. Ooh, Lord. But oh yeah, Kristi Noem's big titty husband. Yeah. Lord have mercy. Big titty Mr. Noem's. We're gonna give him a name. BTN. Listen, I don't care about that's your business, Mr. Noem, but the problem is the people in your party go out of their way to demonize people who engage in behavior like that. Yeah, they go out of their way. But I shouldn't even say engage in behavior like that. Because every transgender person I know does it better than he did. What the hell was that? At least they take some pride in their appearance. What the hell? It's like he just took two balloons and I don't know what he was doing. But anyway, that gets me off. I'm off subject. Let me just say this. Okay. Kristi Noem and Pam Bondi, as stupid as they were to believe that they were going to be in a situation where they were going to be protected in this white nationalist regime that has very, very, very misogynistic beliefs. Okay. For some reason, they were going to be protected in this situation if they were down with the patriarchy. Didn't work out that well for you, did it? Well, the irony, though, to me is that of all of the people in his administration, which this has got to be the most unqualified cabinet in the history of cabinets, probably ever. Okay. I don't think it's a stretch to say that. These two, the first two to get the heave ho, were comparatively speaking among the most qualified in their cabinet. So Pam Bondi, who was the attorney general, at least was a state attorney general before she became a U.S. attorney general. So one could say, okay, I don't agree with her. I think she's a horrible person. But I could at least say, okay, at least she had qualifications for that job. Kristi Noem, okay, Department of Homeland Security. Well, she was a governor, not a direct one-to-one, but one could say that she was over the protection of her state. So definitely a very high position, well-respected position. I could say that I could see how you could make the argument that she would be qualified to be the head of Department of Homeland Security. But look at some of the other people who are still there. Okay. You still have a Secretary of Health and Human Services who has bragged about snorting cocaine off of toilet seats, has zero health background whatsoever, and has ushered in measles outbreaks in various states across this nation. But he still got his job. You still have there someone who is a former star of The Real World, the MTV series, and various different iterations of The Real World series. A star from that is now over our aviation. So if you're wondering why there seemed to be an inordinate amount of planes that have dropped out of the sky under this administration, it could be. I'm just speculating that it might have something to do with you got people in charge that don't know what the hell they're doing. In addition to that, you have a white nationalist. And the reason why I feel comfortable with calling him a white nationalist is because he actually lost his previous position in the National Guard because others reported him for having a tattoo, which is an insignia of people who are white nationalists, and a former Fox News host who is head of the Defense Department and who apparently is some sort of religious zealot who believes that he is in a holy war and is on a crusade. Like, is there any question why we're in the situation where we're in right now? He still got his job. He got his job. You have a podcaster who's heading the FBI. He still got his job. You got all these people that still got their jobs. And, oh my goodness, to add insult to injury, Kristi Noem, you're about to be replaced by an MMA fighter. By an MMA fighter. That is like his biggest claim to fame. So we go from having a governor over that agency to an MMA fighter. So what I want you ladies to understand who think that your white skin will protect you from white nationalist level patriarchy, I got news for you. You're going to be next on the menu. You're the first ones on the menu. Even when you're trying to do everything that they tell you to do, as ridiculous and unrealistic of what it is they want you to do. Because the real problem with Pam was the Epstein problem. And I don't care who he puts in that position. That Epstein problem is not disappearing. It's not going away. It's going to be there. And you just wait until there is Democratic control of Congress. There are going to be hearings galore. It's going to be all out in the public. It's going nowhere. I don't care who you put in her position. I don't know what you tell them to do. The Epstein files are not going anywhere. The whole world knows about it. Your day is coming, Donald Trump. Your day is coming. So even though he has finally tacoed, he has definitely tacoed, and I'm glad he tacoed, because this would have been a war crime to attack all of the electrical facilities, to attack all of the bridges, that infrastructure. And definitely, because when I hear you say a whole civilization will die tonight, my thought is I'm going straight to thoughts around dropping the nuclear bomb. And my concern is that I don't see him as being incapable of that. That's the thing that is worrisome. I don't see him as being incapable of that at all. And so now that that immediate threat has been reduced, I will say this. What this has shown us, though, is who is going to stand up in moments of crisis and who will not. Who is going to take action and at least voice, even if they have no power to do anything legislatively, at least have the courage, at least have the fearlessness to go on record to say, this cannot stand. We need to invoke the 25th and get this man the hell out of office. We have seen who has the guts to do that right now and who doesn't. And let us not forget. Let us never forget that. And let us move forward ourselves each and every day fearlessly. Now, I will just say this one last thing in terms of preparing for what's ahead. The fertilizer to the world has been held up because of this in a critical time of planting season. It is not a stretch to say that not only will food prices go up tremendously, we might have a food shortage on a worldwide scale. Start right now, making sure that you have canned foods, other types of foods, even if you have the ability to grow food, if you have land where you can grow your own food, like now is the time for you to start thinking about, what would I do if I had to go for an extended period of time without having access to food from the grocery store? Start thinking about it. Now is the time for you to be stockpiling water. Now is the time to make sure that you have batteries for flashlights. Who knows what could happen to our electrical grids? It is well understood that Iranians are very, very good at hacking things, okay? I don't want to cause you to be fearful, but I do think it's smart now to be prepared for a situation like we've not seen in our lifetimes, because the ultimate implications of what's happening right now can lead to not only gas shortages, but also food shortages and other challenges that we might face if this becomes an extended thing. And even if it's not extended much more than this, there's already been significant damage done, and you're not going to be able to instantly turn it back on in the same way that you can instantly turn on your water and water comes straight out. It's going to take time for the world economy to recover from this. So be prepared, be ready, because we are in this for the long haul. And with that said, I want to thank you for joining me for this episode of Fearless Politics, and I will see you next time. Take care, everybody. See you later. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Fearless Politics. And while you're here, don't forget to subscribe, follow, and leave that 5-star rating that you and I both know we deserve. Also, feel free to leave a review so more people can find out about us and become members of the Fearless Politics crew. And finally, if you want to go further down the rabbit hole with us, then be sure to check us out at fearlesspoliticspodcast.com or connect with me personally on Instagram at fearlessdravis. With that said, we'll see you next time. And don't forget, it's time to be fearless. See you soon.